I also ask Jerry and Jesse to join the Q&A. And to the audience, if you have a question, then please use the chat function, because we are now going to start our Q&A together with our three experts. We'd like to start with Jerry Lee. And I would like to start with probably one of the perhaps most difficult questions to answer, but I can imagine that participants are interested in that answer. Can you share a little bit what the cost is of your solution, or how do you base the cost structure towards a customer? Is it a subscription per month? Is it per vehicle? Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yes. So, well, when we talk about the cost of the video cameras, is fraction of the cost of a truck. So whenever whenever you come into an accident, then I would think that the cost of the video telematics solution is very cheap. So when we typically look at video, it comes with two major components. One is the initial hardware cost for putting the cameras into the truck. And depending on what kind of a solution that you're using, it could be a very easy to use dash cam solution that you can potentially install it yourself. The more extensive solution, like the multi-channel solutions that Jesse mentioned about, will take a little bit more effort. But overall, we try to make it as easy as possible. And also to be able to use the videos, the data to better manage the fleet, like live streaming, training, all of that. It requires a monthly subscription from our integrating partners, and also a small data cost. I would say in US dollars amount, it could be $30, $40 per vehicle per month in terms of the overall package. But it really depends on what kind of functionalities, what kind of service that you're looking at. So there's a lot of variables. So don't hold me for that quote.
No, but okay. But it's already good that you could indicate a little bit how that price structure is built up. And then elaborating on that, I would like to continue with Jesse. Jesse, you, of course, have quite a lot of experience with Trimble and everything that has to do with software, hardware, etc. If you look at the return on investment of telematics in general and video telematics supported by AI in particular, can you tell us a little bit what customers can expect in terms of ROI?
Sure, I can try to enlighten you a little bit, Stephen. So our ROI is kind of an interesting question, because some of what Jerry was referring to is the overall implementation, right? And what you choose and how you utilize it. But I've seen customers literally have pay for their entire system within the first 30 days because they had a major accident where they weren't at fault, and so they saved it. So I mean that's an extreme example, though, right? Generally, customers are going to see their ROI in the 14 to 16 month range. Once again, depends on how much they use it, whether they're working with their insurance companies and so forth for safety. And as far as the overall Trimble solution, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, and there's a lot of efficiencies to be gained. Whether it's fuel costs are skyrocketing here in North America. I think it is pretty much around the world. And so that's a large factor, when we're talking about, a vehicle that's getting 12 miles per gallon. And so utilizing some of those other technologies, you're going to save not only fuel costs, but also overall operational efficiencies. And so your ROIs start to add up. And particularly in our business in North America, margins are so tight, just a little bit, just a small incremental gain is going to give you a big dollar figure at the end of the year.
Okay, good. Antoine, you are at the moment testing the solution of StreamX.
Yes.
Can you first tell us when do you hope to have those first results? When do you foresee the end of the testing phase?
We had two phases. The first one was without saying to the driver, without the alarm in the trucks. We say to the driver, "Be careful, you are doing something bad." And we took a second month to advertise him, to say to him, "Be careful, you are smoking and you are driving at the same time." And now we are experimenting a phase with only the customer alarm. For example, he wants in France. It's very difficult to say to your driver, "Don't smoke. Don't you, for example, don't use your telephone." It's quite private. So we are still still trying to find what is the right level of in France, because in France it's very difficult to film some people at work and to film outside the vehicle, for example, people on the road. So we are still trying to find the good level, I think. So
okay. Do you foresee any issues, for example, in terms of acceptation of the technology, the video telematics technology, by the people, by the working councils?
When you don't explain to the people, yes, in the first time they put something in front of the camera so we can't see nothing. But after 1 month and some meetings, we explain it, and after that they understand that it's not to catch little bad things. No, it's very to improve their driving behavior, and to help them to be safe and do their work as well as they can. So we've got to expect, but we have to check with the lawyers, because in France it's quite difficult from this side.
Like it is in some other countries in Europe, for sure.
I think, yes.
Yes. And a question that popped in, and I will start with Jerry. Perhaps Jesse, you would like to add a comment afterwards. It's from John Bullock. He says, as the demand for video-related solutions is increasing exponentially, how do you manage the increasing costs and technical demands on transmission of these huge quantities of data?
So I will probably speak to that on a solution point of view, and then Jesse, you can help me with the operational side of things. So from when we design the solutions, we definitely have data usage in mind. Definitely video comes in natural, uses a lot more data comparing to traditional telematics. So we first use AI technology to identify the critical moments that needs your attention. So you're not actually uploading every single bit of video into the backend. You're looking at, actually when the driver is falling asleep, or there's a near misses, or there's an actual accident. So we cherry pick the critical moments at the beginning. And second is, we don't necessarily have to transmit high definition videos. Our hardware allows the transmission of very low resolution videos to make sure you see what's happening without going over your data plan. So our firmware design already established that at the very beginning, and we're still working on features that taking into snapshots, to using that to tell you the story of the trip rather than using an actual full-blown video. So we are from a technology standpoint, there's a lot of tool in our toolbox that we can use to minimize the data consumption.
Okay,
yeah,
very good.
Stephen, I can talk about data costs as well. Obviously, that's a huge driver. It's a huge cost monthly. Although here in the U.S., we're starting to see with the introduction of LTE and now 5G, we're starting to see the data costs come down as the cell providers are used to massive consumptions of data. So it is a large cost for us, but we're starting to see some of those pricing plans go down. The other thing I want to mention is, as I talked about the exoneration into a safety solution, as Jerry mentioned, cherry picking some of those videos, with that AI, combining multiple events, and only uploading what is relevant, right? It's one of the hardest things in our role as a provider, showing videos that are applicable to the customers. Not just generating a bunch of videos, because we can prove that we've done that, but provide actionable videos. And the help of AI allows you to, I would say, cherry pick some of those. So it's being smart about your data usage, utilizing that snapshot feature versus a full 20-second high quality video times 4 channels all the way around the truck. So it's about being efficient with your plan and your system.
Okay, good. We have a few questions around GDPR. So regulation, privacy regulation in Europe, but it also exists under another name, for example, in North America. Of course, you can already guess the question, let's say. So how do you get around GDPR regulations or other data privacy regulations? What effect has it in also the growing of your business? Perhaps also Jesse and Jerry, I think, in first instance, to answer this question.
Go
ahead.
When GDPR was introduced, it was, I wouldn't say it disrupted the video world. It was something that we need to focus on. And from Tremble's perspective, we wanted to build a platform that allowed our customers to be GDPR compliant. Whatever that meant, blurring of faces, blurring of license plates, being able to expunge data on drivers as they leave an organization. So I saw the question in the chat. It's not about getting around GDPR. It's about working with GDPR and allowing your customers to be GDPR compliant to what extent they need to be within the regions that they operate.
Okay. Jerry, do you want to add something?
Yes. So from our point of view, we definitely do understand the privacy concerns. And so from a technology perspective, we are trying to provide more while recording less. So one of the the key features that we provide is about monitoring how the driver is currently driving. So we are trying to create technologies that doesn't rely on actually seeing the driver's face. For example, one of the things that we're working on is to use, we call it lane keeping ability evaluation. So we look at how the vehicle is keeping in the lane to identify whether the driver is actually at his optimal driving performance, right? So we can use those kind of technologies to avoid having a camera looking internally, so to ease off that kind of privacy concern. So that all of our cameras, all of our solutions, you can choose to have a road-facing only option. Although some of the functionalities may be impacted, but at least the exoneration part and a lot of the benefits are still there. And on the road-facing side, we are introducing, all of those GDPR compliance features to, blur all of the license plate, the faces, so that we don't collect any sensitive, personal information on that.
Okay, Antoine, do you take any? Yes, do you take any measures?
Excuse me, I just want to add. Yes, this is a solution we choose to not to only use as a sense the camera inside, just as a sensor, and not as a camera. So it's quite different because we don't want to keep the videos and well. But for outside, we've got to be able to disable the plates on the vehicle. It's not allowed maybe to keep to have this on the video, and the people too. So I think there is something that you are working on, Jerry, to be able not to have faces from outside the vehicles.
Yes, we already have that function.
Okay. Question for Antoine. What are the reasons to integrate video using StreamX into your current telematics platform rather than, for example, going out to another telematics provider that can directly into their portfolio have already that video telematics?
I think because it's big, because we it's quite difficult in Africa to change quickly this kind of services. That's why for us it's easier to in the first time to see what the market offer in this kind of technology, and then to be sure that it will be able to work with our telematic partners that we already work, but and it was because it was very easy to work with StreamX. We have a French team, and that was very easy to taste it, to put a poke phase. So I think the best reason is because it was very easy to test it with StreamX, and sometimes with other partners, it's not as easier. So I think it's the best answer that I can give.
Okay, a few questions, brief ones to end the Q&A. For Jerry, a few questions. James Hayes, sorry if I pronounce the name not correctly. Jerry Lee, do the dash cams have CAN or OBD connectivity?
It does. So the goal of StreamX is definitely to have the CAN or OBD data collected onto our hardware, and then using that to submit it to whatever telematics platform that people are using, so that it becomes a centerpiece in the cockpit. So we don't have to invest the money into a tracking hardware and also a camera, and then holding two cellular connections at the same time. So it does have that, and then we are building our capabilities as we speak.
Okay. Another question for Jerry Lee. Where is the platform hosted for the cameras? Is it cloud-based? Is it hosted somewhere?
Yes. So the whole, it really depends on which partners that we go with. So the cloud typically is all hosted in the cloud, and then is always hosted locally to make sure that we satisfy all of the data residency requirements. And maybe Jesse, you can elaborate a little bit more on that part.
Yeah, we're currently just like Jerry said, it is cloud, and we're hosted in the North America, and that satisfies both North America and South America, and then we can branch off to the EU to meet requirements there.
Okay. Another question, perhaps for Jesse. Jesse, do you think that a dash cam and perhaps also video telematics will become mandatory in trucks in the future?
Yeah, specifically here in North America, I think ultimately, I think as the adoption rate increases, it's just going to be part of a standard build. As we're starting to see more cameras being utilized. For example, not having side mirrors or using cameras. Now there's going to be a video solution. And so I think naturally it's going to progress that way. Ultimately, I do think certain restrictions such as hazardous material and so forth will be required to have some type of a video solution.
Okay. Jerry, how long do you think that the technology that is now more and more adopted by long-haul truck fleets, by commercial fleets, will also find its entrance with passenger car fleets?
Passenger car fleets are a little bit different. But I think so the market definitely, the penetration is going downward really, really quickly. So when we look at the units that we ship where it's mounted, a lot of them are in utility vehicles. So we have, telcos that is using their vans to, set up cables, internet connections, and we have pest control fleet and last mile delivery, parcel delivery, like FedEx, they're using those cameras already. So I wouldn't say it's 100% going to get into the passenger fleet, but I think at least at this point, utility fleets adoption rate is already very high.
Okay. The final question also for Jerry, as you also, let's say, the supporting party of this webinar, looking at the developments that we are seeing in AI, machine learning, and so on, how do you see video telematics further evolve? With what additional and to be expected benefits for the fleet customers?
Well, I think the evolution of video telematics, there are a few different aspects. I think first is the functionality side of things. So what's happening on the hardware or on the edge side? So there will be more and more functionality. So we can start reading, speed signs, road signs, traffic light. So there will be more events that's going to be able to get captured. And the second aspect, I believe, will be what are we going to do with the data? So right now we are looking at statistics. We're using the events as a training tool, but the next step is to give it context. So from what we see is not only looking at the video content, but also looking at road conditions, day of the time, weather, all of that to give the events context so that it gets smarter, more personalized, and be more helpful and easy to accept by the driver. We want it to be the virtual co-pilot rather than a monitoring tool. And then the last one, I think, is with electronics. The trend is gets better and better and cheaper. Definitely, we see that the affordability, ever since we started this business in the trucking industry, I think the cost of the solution has reduced by half already. And then we do expect it to get reduced by half maybe in the next few years. And then, removing the upfront cost turns into a pure subscription purchase. I think it will be more and more affordable for the fleet to use it.
Okay, so there is still an interesting journey ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you to our expert speakers, Jesse Chappell of Trimble, Antoine Bruer of Fréquin, and Jerry Lee of Streamax. Thank you very much also to you, dear participants. There will be a recorded version of this webinar that we will publish later on fleeteurope.com, our website, so you can relive also the expertise of our speakers afterwards. And then there will also be a brief satisfaction survey that will be sent to you and you can fill in, because we would like to know, of course, how we can further optimize our future webinars. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this webinar and I would like to see you again in an upcoming initiative. Bye-bye.